Hello, I'm chess expert Gil Luna. This video is on trading a bishop and a knight for a rook and a pawn in the opening. Now, this is something that happens a lot where a player tries to do the fry liver attack and black properly defends it in castles, and then white trades the bishop and the knight for the rook and the pawn and think they're getting a good deal. I'm going to show you why you should not do that. All right, so let's get to the position, the most common position that this happens. Okay, so e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. So here, white plays d3, and black plays knight f6. And here, white plays knight to g5 to try to do the fry liver attack. Okay, so we have the bishop and the knight both attacking this pawn to try to fork the rook and the queen. So what happens here, if black makes the mistake and does something like h6, white can simply go knight takes f7, and the queen or the rook is lost. So if black sees this, the correct move in this position is to castle. And this is the common position where I see this all the time, especially with young players. In this position, the knight still takes the pawn. Okay, and this is incorrect. You are not supposed to take this. So you're probably thinking, wait a minute, I did knight takes pawn, rook takes knight, bishop takes rook, king takes bishop. So I have a rook and a pawn, which is worth 6 points, and my opponent has a bishop and a knight, which is worth 6 points. So this should be okay. It's not okay, okay? In general, most of the time, there are exceptions like everything else in life, but most of the time, you do not want to trade a bishop and a knight for a rook, or 2 knights for a rook, or 2 bishops for a rook. Okay, yes, it equals the same points if you take a pawn with it, but what happens is if you look at this, the rook that you captured, you compare them to your rooks that are still stuck back here in the corner. Okay, black is way ahead in development. Black has both knights out and the bishop out. And you might be telling me, wait a minute, well, black's king is exposed. You're right, black's king is exposed, but it can very easily go to safety. So let's say, for example, in this position, white does something like castle. Okay, if white does something like castle, black can simply go king g8. However, in this moment, it's not necessary. You can play d6, and wait till the king is under pressure. Like, let's say you wanted to try to play f4 at some point, but you can't because you're pinned. Maybe you go king h1, and you try to put pressure on this black king. So let's say you did king h1 with the idea of f4. Black can simply develop, and if you play something like f4, he can simply capture. And after capturing back, play king g8, or you can play bishop d7, any move in this position, bishop d7, bishop g4 as well. Okay, if f3 is played, you put the bishop back. And here, my point is that this king can very easily get to safety. So it's not worth trading the bishop and the knight for the rook in this position after black castles. So let's look at that again. Knight takes, rook takes, bishop takes, king takes is not good for white. At this point, what you're supposed to do, okay, first of all, if your opponent can castle, as white, you are not supposed to waste time and play knight to g5. It's too late for this already if your opponent can castle. Okay, so basically what you should do is play something like bishop g5 and pin the knight, and you're okay in this position. But if you go knight to g5 to try to do a cheapo to hope that your opponent does not see it, and they do, and they castle, okay, now basically all you want to do here is just lose a tempo. Okay, I tried a cheapo, they saw it, so let me develop my pieces. And they're going to push you back with h6, and you're going to have to waste the tempo and go back. But what you don't want to do is do this trade. Okay, you do not want to trade those 2 pieces for the rook in this position. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something and I hope you enjoyed this video.